the Rebel Radio Podcast.
Doing some old school DJ stuff. Podcast. Kids seats are only $5.
Found on www.therebelradiopodcast.com.
Yeah.
And all your favorite favorite podcast applications on your smartphone. It's in your pocket right now, vibrating.
Hello. Yeah. We need one of those switchboards that plays random sounds like goats and shit.
We used to have that on the radio show version years ago.
I think so. Yeah. And that was pretty cool.
There's probably a way I could hook it up to the computer and have like Jason Mewes say Snoochie Boochies or something.
Yeah.
Impressive. Most impressive.
Yes.
Dude, they have plugins for everything. I'm sure there's something I can plug into this and make fucking sound things work.
Oh, probably.
Dude, you're going to make me look that shit up now. I'm going to have to look.
You're like, now I'm curious. I'm going to spend all night looking for this shit.
Hitting the button, Matt says is Huge Jackman or something. He gets excited.
Huge Jackman.
Have a button. Matt's bonerific excitement.
Bonerific excitement.
Man. Dude, I'm running on like very little sleep. Now I went and saw the classic, the Icons, Guns N' Roses last night. And that was fucking cool, I have to say. I mean, I had seen Slash perform with Velvet Revolver, probably 20 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was cool seeing Velvet Revolver. It's basically Guns N' Roses with Scott Weiland. And but I guess then I didn't take in the appreciation factor for what an icon Slash was until I got to see him play with his original band. And getting to see Guns N' Roses was cool. Axl sounded fine. I mean, he's not great. He's old. He's 61 now, Axl Rose is 62.
Oh, wow.
And, he sounded okay. I mean, he wasn't terrible. They put on a good show. Slash is not human. Let me tell you that. He's a guitar-making, rocking machine. Just unbelievable good and a pleasure to watch. And it was a good show, man. Always wanted to see him. That's the band that kind of, if Pearl Jam defined my life in music, Guns N' Roses is the band that got me into rock and roll. And so it was good to see those legends. And they played at the baseball stadium here in town at Minute Maid Park, which we're hoping is hosting some playoff games here in the next week or two. And our Astros are struggling here at the end of the season, even though they are up 3-0 right now on the Diamondbacks. They get their magic number is 2 to get in the playoffs. So hopefully by Monday we will know if they're in the playoffs or not.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, it was cool seeing GNR live. I was starting to thinking like, for me, Alice in Chains opened up for him, but we didn't make it inside the stadium in time, and it wasn't that big of a deal because I'm not a huge fan of the new incarnation of Alice in Chains. I'm always going to be a Lane Staley guy. I don't hate the lead singer, but don't love it either. And but the new version, but and now that I saw GNR, man, other than seeing original incarnations of Soundgarden or Alice in Chains, I think my music bucket list, man, is about. I really don't know who else I would see. I mean,
Stevie Nicks.
No.
Yeah, I think you would.
No.
No.
Oh. Yeah, obviously, there's the bands that are impossible to see them, like Led Zeppelin, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as modern stuff, man, I can't. I think that might have been it. I saw the main icon that I always wanted to see. Doesn't mean I'll never go to another concert again, because but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, man. It's not a band that I would love, have to see, but the rodeo down here, they went through a spiel where they had classic rock bands, and one year we had Kiss. I saw them, and then Styx came the following year, saw them, and then they had REO Speedwagon the year after that, and I was like, I wasn't able to make it, or at least I didn't make the effort to make it.
Music, basically.
Yeah, I think he used to play all that stuff in the car all the time, so I just became accustomed to it. That might be why I like bands like that. But I regret not going to see him because I they stopped bringing classic rock to the rodeo. And man, I think I'd like to see Aerosmith. I'd like to see Steven Taylor.
I don't know. He sounds pretty. I've seen some videos of him. He almost sounds worse than Axel now.
Really?
And his health's not real good. So I don't know how much longer they're going to tour. They've canceled a lot of shows over the last year and rescheduled them. So I'm not sure.
Him and his scarfs.
He's dude looks like a lady.
Yep, he does kind of look like a lady sometimes.
His own autobiographical song.
Yeah,
was about himself, even though he said it's not about himself. Sure,
it's not about me.
We know what you're up to, Steven.
He's like, I bought these scarves.
Such a fine daughter, though. Good Lord.
For real.
I mean, something happened there.
Hey, did you just quote Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights? The only thing you've done with your life is make a hot daughter. Hey. Whenever he's roasting the dad.
So, how was your week? Good.
Yeah, good. Watched some cool stuff. I saw that you had watched an alien movie, and I was like, "What movie is that?" And so I found it was on Hulu, and
you fucking copycat.
And I was like, "I've got to see this thing," and so I watched it. So I'll be able to review it with you when you talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
it's on Hulu. This was originally, and it's one of these 20. It's weird since Disney bought 20th Century Fox. It's almost like they don't quite know what to do with some of these films. Like Prey should have been released theatrically. Let's be honest,
big time.
And this movie was originally planned as a theatrical release and ended up going to Hulu. And it's called No One Will Save You. It's basically it's an alien invasion, home invasion flick with aliens. CGI is a little suspect at times, but I didn't think it was that bad. This movie is basically silent for an hour and 40 minutes. There's 3 lines of dialogue in the entire film. That's its gimmick. As this girl who's a high anxiety, living her day in a farmhouse, and she goes into town now and then for things she needs, and you get the sense that she's not welcome to the town. You're not sure why.
Yeah.
Early on in the film. So as she's living her day in her routine, she's going to sleep that night, and turns out she wakes up and there's an intruder in her home, and she's not sure what's going on. She hears something downstairs, and well, god dang it turns out this intruder is an alien.
Yeah.
And the first 30 minutes of this movie were great. It builds suspension.
Mm-hmm.
It builds intensity. I'm over there watching and go, oh shit, and Wyatt's like, Dad, why are you watching this if it's just scaring you? I'm like, it's not scaring me, it's just intense. Is it because it does a really good job of building tension?
Really does. Yeah.
And then it kind of turns into a bit more of an action movie after that, where it's throwing plot details at you through things that happen. It seems these aliens can use these little mini probes to take over humans.
Yeah.
And she gets chased by humans. It also, we revealed through flashbacks that I guess she, the sheriff's daughter or something, or was her friend, and she got into a argument with her, and she must have accidentally killed this little girl. And that's why she's not real welcomed into town. It was her best friend, and it was an accident. And that's why she's super high anxiety functioning like she is. I guess because of the trauma that occurred to her as a teenager. So that's revealed through flashbacks. And then a really bizarre ending with it, where it seemed like the aliens were looking for something amongst humans. And when they found her ability to forgive herself for what she did and to move on with her life, the aliens accepted that and let her go after putting her in her spaceship. And then she's dancing in this weird thing, and the aliens are still floating above the earth. I didn't understand the ending. From what I gather online, most people don't understand the ending. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I usually can figure movies out. I don't really get what the last 30 seconds meant. I was like, wasn't sure.
I thought maybe they were all getting along because they were all like friggin' taking over, and now they're all in the same club.
That's what I was thinking too. Like,
yeah,
they're just going to live amongst us.
Yeah, so I thought maybe they were like, basically
Because the
under.
title of the film is "No One Can Save You," so that's what I was thinking. The aliens basically end up taking over the Earth,
Yeah,
and that they probed us all. And
that's what I thought. Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I thought too.
so basically they decided through her compassion or her ability to forgive herself that they're not going to wipe us out, but they're going to take us over with probes through our throats. It was fun. I mean, it wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't terrible. It was a fun, lazy afternoon watch.
Yeah, it was entertaining, and like you said, it does a good job building suspense in the first half, and then like you said, it's like an action thriller at the end. So definitely worth a watch, especially if you got a Hulu account. I mean, check it out.
I like the fact that they made the aliens look like the old school classic Roswell aliens.
Yes,
that was cool. And then with a little bit of mixing, like the boss aliens had a little bit more powers and stuff. The one that could twist itself around and stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, the weird arms and shit. Yeah. So it's definitely creepy. It is. The aliens look creepy. There's a creepy tone, and it's definitely a film that's going to creep you out watching it in the dark.
The gimmick worked with the music because the music helps build the intensity and the suspense.
Yeah.
And I posted on social media about watching it, and a couple of people were like, no way, it's too scary. And I'm going to call them out right now, the people that posted them, like, quit being chickens, watch it. Just turn the lights on, you'll be all right.
Yeah. Give it a watch. Look, you'll be all right.
This next month coming up, Matt's going to make me suffer by finally watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre after all these years. And
yes,
I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm not going to be a chicken. I'm going to watch it. I've avoided that movie for 47 years of my life, and damn it, now I'm going to have to watch it.
Yeah, man. The Ed Gein movie. We'll talk about Ed Gein.
And that's not next week's movie, but yeah, it's coming up.
It's coming.
But No One Can Save You. It was a fun little flick. I mean, like I said, it was a good I watched it Sunday afternoon, just lazy watching it, and it was fun.
Yeah, we did the same. Me and Jackie watched it, and it was good. It's good because it's like I felt like, man, what am I going to watch? What's on? And then I saw you had posted that, and I'm like, yeah, let's check this out, and it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, that's really other than Ahsoka episode 7, that's all I had time to really watch this week.
Well, I saw that
we watched a 4-hour movie this week. That took a lot of time.
Yeah. So I saw that there was that. Well, and I know it was horribly reviewed, that Jeepers Creepers film from last year where they tried to reboot Jeepers Creepers, and the actor from Robot Jox is in that movie. Yeah, the American Gladiator from Robot Jox. He reenacts the opening scene, which was actually, a true story that came off of Unsolved Mysteries. So there's a old truck going down the road, and they're riding this old couple's bumper. And the guy's like, just go around. And so the guy almost runs him off the road trying to just get around him. And he sprints ahead, blasts ahead and pulls off into this school. And so they're passing him, and they see a bloody sheet that he's like, I throw into this trash can and stuff in this field by the school. And they call the cops, and they had found I guess like a body of somebody, but it was a real unsolved mystery thing. And they use that as the opening to Jeepers Creepers, the first one. And then they use it again as the opening to this one, but they reference it as the unsolved mystery. And it's supposed to be in this town. The acting's horrible. The CGI at the end where they kill the thing is horrible. And it's just weird. It's like they, tried to make it to where the town is trying to sacrifice these, a woman that's of, with child to the creeper, and, somehow it's going to cause them to live forever, but the creature lives forever anyways, because, that's his thing. He eats limbs and he gains them. And it's like from all the Jeepers Creepers films. So it's like, I don't know. I didn't
Those
get
kind
it.
of movies where people smoked way too much shit.
Definitely. And it's like part of this like Comic-Con. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to this Comic-Con that's in this town with the creeper house. And it's it's not really a Comic-Con. It's like a horror fair. Like they've got like fair games and stuff. And I'm like, this doesn't happen at a Comic-Con. I was like, where are the there's no vendors.
Comic-Cons are trendy. Let's put it in our movie.
Yeah.
And we'll have a few tables and it'll look cool.
Yeah, that's it. There's like some vendors there, and there's like carnival games, like knife throwing, and whatever.
Comic-Con in a movie I ever wanted to go to was Chronicon.
Yes, Chronic Con. That would be worth it. This one not as cool, but yeah. So definitely not worth the watch. There's probably a million other horror movies that you should probably see, and we're talking about some next month. So. Definitely follow us on our horrors month as we release those movies. We'll talk about that later. But other than that, I did watch Ahsoka as well, and Ezra and everything.
The second to last episode of the season, which
man,
I'm starting to believe there's going to be a season 2, even though it's not officially announced. I think it's coming. Especially
has to be.
Strikes ending, which we'll talk about in a minute in the news. But this episode was super action packed. Lots happened. Man, it feels like I've had a lot go on the last 3 days since I watched this. I'm trying to recall it all, but Sabine and Ezra being chased by Balin and Shin and the recruitment of the red bad guys, whatever they're called, that they found with them, and they're trying to survive. Sabine has to kick some ass, and Ahsoka shows up, and she's fighting Balin, surviving, and Thrawn is trying to go through his master plan and get all his troops on board and all this and his cargo so he can escape. And this was it's weird. This episode probably moved the plot forward the least out of any of them, but it was so action packed that it was exciting and made up for a lot of it.
Yeah,
I did think it was weird that Ezra wouldn't take the lightsaber.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, it's yours. I gave it to you. I'm like, yeah, but Sabine's like, yeah, but we're fucking fighting here, man. Take it. And he's like, no, I don't want it. I'm just like, wait. Even I was like, wait, what?
I thought maybe they did that to because now that there's this trope with just using the Force to fight, and Obi-Wan used it, and Darth Vader used it, and then Ahsoka used it in that little mini animated series. And so I think it's a trope,
So what's the biggest question of this episode is, what's the deal with Balin? He could have killed Ahsoka and he didn't.
Yeah.
What's he searching for? You can believe all the theories that there's some sort of creature there. This is the opposite of Bendu from Rebels. He's like the dark side version of Bendu.
Mm-hmm.
But these fan theories get, I don't want to say ridiculous, but get really out there sometimes. But it makes you wonder what Balin's looking for, because it's like he had Ahsoka where he could have finished her off and he didn't.
Yeah.
And it just makes you wonder what's going on with him, and especially the fact that he let his apprentice go on her own to try to take out Ezra. So that's the biggest question I think of the whole episode is what he's up to. Mads Mikkelsen's brother is growing on me as Thrawn. I've always liked the voice because he did the voice of the show, but his mannerism in his face, it looks like, I can't hold it. Does it look like he's smirking all the time?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. To me, Thrawn is more calculating and more just
serious.
Yeah. But he's growing on me. The 3PO cameo was fun, but also a little, I don't know if awkward's the right word, but it did feel like, it felt like, oh, we wrote her in a hole. How do we get her out of it? Oh, I know. Let's have a 3PO cameo. Fans will eat that shit up and they'll buy into it.
Yeah.
That's really what it felt like. You have this annoying Asian politician dude who won't shut up. And it's just it really felt like the writers were like, well, how do we get her out of this? Without getting it too bogged down into political stuff. And that feels like that's why 3PO cameoed. And then his costume was really like bizarre looking. His neck was all bulgy, or was that just because Anthony Daniels has gotten too fat for the costume?
That could be it. Maybe that's it.
No disrespect to Anthony Daniels. It's always cool to see him come back, but it was just like, okay, Yeah, but you could have had Glover come back and just have him play Lando, and the cameo would have been fine. It would have made more sense.
Exactly.
People would have bought into it. Like, okay, it's not Billy D. Williams, but it's still Lando.
Exactly.
If you had to use an actor that's already been recast, I get why you can't use Leia because Carrie Fisher has passed. But it's like you don't want to deep fake her out of respect, even though you already deep faked her in Rogue One. But she was still alive when Rogue One was made, so that was a little different. But yeah, that was kind of weird. Let's just use C-3PO. So. But it was cool. What did you think about the episode?
I thought it was fun. I liked that there was more action. It definitely raises more questions.
There's no way they wrap this up in one episode. And if they do, if they were to kill Thrawn off in 55 minutes or something, you're wasting them. This has got to go on.
And why is that one board member like, oh no, we've got to punish her? We've got to disciplinary.
Man, I don't know. I
think he's like, maybe there's part. Obviously, we saw some of this in Mandalorian, season 3, and it's got to be, this has got to be like a remnant of that, where you see corrupt Republic members, and I think that's what we're seeing. Like maybe a person that's trying to go after, Era, and it's got to be that. That's how I feel. But we'll see, because he was like, yeah, we gotta, clip her wings and, court martial her, and it's going way too hard for, something where she had proof that there was, remnants of the Empire. So yeah, he was going way too hard for something that was justified.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, man, I think this is the best Star Wars TV series they've done, though. I mean, it's awesome. It's action-packed. It's a lot of fun. It's telling a really good sequel story to After the Battle of Endor. It's telling a really good story overall to Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of great lightsaber fights. And none of it feels forced to me, which I think is it's great. Sometimes, like, the Obi-Wan prequel felt a little forced in there. Even Andor feels a little forced, even though it's well written. This Mando is good, but Mando also sometimes takes a long time to get anywhere, where this is just telling a really fascinating, really well done story. I mean, and Filoni created Ahsoka, so that's his baby, and I think he's really treating it well, and has hired good directors and good story writers, and are telling a really good, solid Star Wars story. But I think you'd be a disservice to the fans if you got rid of Thrawn after just a few episodes. And I think the plan is probably to make him the villain for the upcoming Mando Universe movie that's going to happen eventually. So, because it just makes the most sense to have it that way. And so we'll see. Maybe we'll get an announcement soon as what's going to happen after this, because we know the Skeleton Crew show is coming out and the Acolyte is coming out, but those are. But there's been no word yet on Mando season 4 or Ahsoka season 2, but maybe it's coming, especially with the success of Ahsoka. We'll see. One episode to go, Tuesday night. See how this all ends, and we'll definitely have our full report on it next week and our conclusions and maybe our own theories after the ending of the show next week. See where it goes.
Exactly.
And the reason we might have some news soon is the writer strikes in Hollywood are finally coming to an end. They signed a tentative agreement this week. If I remember reading correctly, it's all going to be signed off on sometime this week. Movie studios and television studios are all moving in place right now to get things back into production. It's crazy how that works. I was reading an article about how, like, Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie and the crew from Mission Impossible 8 are on standby. As soon as they get the word, they jump on planes, they fly back to Prague or wherever it was they were filming, and they start production to finish Dead Reckoning Part 2. Animators on Across the Spider-Verse are ready to go back to work. It's like they just stopped these productions. They're ready to go again. So This is good news for Hollywood. Apparently, it's a 3-year deal, so might have some issues again in 3 years, but at least something got solved, and hopefully these writers are taken care of and paid their earnings.
Yeah, get paid what you're supposed to get paid. I know there's some instances where people have these one-off grievances, and hopefully they get settled. But the good thing is that we got everything starting back up shortly.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Because it was getting really frustrating with the Dune being delayed and more movies delayed and television series, and it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
The Boys season 4, we're waiting on that. It was all part of the strikes and delays, and we went through all this in 2020 with COVID into 2021, even where so many films were delayed, and it really, I think it's safe to say this year in 2024 is the first, or 2023, it's really been the first year where Hollywood's been really back. I mean, last year we had the extremely huge success of Top Gun and a few films, but this year we've seen consistent success throughout the year.
Yeah.
And it's still not to pre-2020 numbers, but it's good. And then we're getting these delays again, so now hopefully everything's done. No more pandemics, no more strikes.
Yeah.
To enjoying the things that Hollywood makes for us. And one of the things that Hollywood wants to make for us, and it's funny, we just did a Star Trek Into Darkness. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago?
That was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Super 8 was last week.
That was 2. And we talked about, hoping that the Kelvin crew would get another shot. Well, Paramount executives are saying that they have, when the strikes are ending, that Star Trek 4 is their first priority. All these other movie ideas they've had, they're putting on the back burner. That Trek 4 is what they're going to work on first. And the TV side is functioning good, Strange New Worlds, Picard, all that stuff. But they realize that it's very important to have Star Trek in theaters, and they are going to do what they can to get Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and everyone back together for at least one more film for the Kelvin crew. All I can say is I'll believe it when I see it, because we've been talking several years now about getting them back together. J.J. Abrams has moved on from Paramount to go work for Warner Brothers, so not sure who they would hire, but we will see to make this happen. Here's an idea: the showrunner for Picard season 3, because it was freaking badass. Let him make Star Trek 4. I bet it would be badass.
Oh yeah,
just a thought. He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Revelation, the Kevin Smith sequel series that aired 2021. It's hard to believe it's been that long since those 10 episodes came on, and I loved it. Wow. It was a lot of fun. Season 2 is finally coming in early 2024. It was officially announced it's going to be called Revolutions instead of Revelations, and it should be hitting here pretty soon to a Netflix near you. Expect more on that soon. And lastly, I don't believe these rumors that Christopher Nolan is developing 2 James Bond films. The reason I don't believe this is because Nolan said himself, I'm not working on anything during the strikes. I also think Nolan has also said several times he's not interested in going back to franchises. Now, that said, he's a huge Bond guy. He's admitted that Bond's one of his favorite film series. It's what got him into directing. It's what got him into making movies. So I think if the opportunity was to come along for Christopher Nolan to make a Bond film, I think he'd consider it. I truly do. But I'll be surprised. But with Daniel Craig leaving the show and the Bond producers looking for a way to reboot Bond, what better way than we're the hottest directors of the world, if it's true. So we'll see if any news comes out that once it strikes. I mean, I can't think of a better person to reboot Bond than Daniel Craig. Or Daniel Craig. Than Christopher Nolan. So we'll see if that is true or not. And Matt, stop falling asleep over there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I saw you fading away, sir. Well, it's all dark and dungy in your house. No wonder you're fucking tired. Turn on some lights.
I know. Maybe I just need to turn on the lights and, keep me.
You're all in the dark over there like a shadow warrior. And
like Batman.
Yeah.
I'm in the shadows.
So that was all the news we had this week. So today's feature film, and I'm going to call this a feature film because initially it was intended to be one film. But then when Quentin Tarantino told the studio, oh, it's 4 hours. And they're like, what? Okay, we're going to have to split this. And Quentin's like, strangely, Quentin didn't even fight it because he knew. He goes, yeah, I know. It's a long film. People aren't. So he was okay with splitting it in half. And so he split it into Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2. And if I remember correctly, they came out about 6 months apart. I don't think it was like a year. I think it was like 6 months from.
Yeah, like 6 months.
And so we're choosing to do this as one full film, as also universally known as The Whole Bloody Affair, a film that has only been seen to the public a few times. Quentin Tarantino has shown it to friends and film directors, and he's shown it at his own art house theater that he owns to a few audiences around the world. I think the total public screenings of The Whole Bloody Affair is like 10 or 11. It's only been shown 10 or 11 times.
Wow.
So anyone who says they have a Whole Bloody Affair Blu-ray out there is lying. It doesn't actually exist. The version I have is a fan edit that's done to the best of what people have seen it. And from what people have said, the fan edit is about 98% correct.
Okay.
So it's really not that different. And even the Blu-rays that are out in Japan and other places that are titled The Whole Bloody Affair, they're not actually the Quentin Tarantino Whole Bloody Affair cut. So the difference let's go over the difference before we get into the film. The only difference is the Crazy 88's fight scene is all in color, and for good reason why it was put in black and white, because it is brutal. I can see why they black and white this to avoid the NC-17. It is bloody as fuck. And now the colored version has been released in Japan. So, because they're not vaginas like Americans are.
Yeah.
So that's where they took the fan edits. They took the American cut. And then the only other version, there's a weird deleted scene with Michael J. White, which is, I say it's weird because it's kind of out of place in the film, but Quentin really liked it because he liked working with Michael J. White, so he put it back in the film. It occurs almost towards the end of the movie, just before she gets to Bill's house. There's a flashback where her and Bill are walking, and Michael J. White is a former enemy of Bill's, and he tries to attack Bill, and Bill takes him out, and Beatrix is just smiling at him and is just kind of showing her an admiration for him.
Okay.
And other than that, when the two films merge, there's a slightly different edit, because he had it. I guess there's the way he edited to make it like a seamless film instead of the way it ended for Volume 1 and Volume 2. So that's really the only differences in the films. The rest of the black and white stuff is still in there. And from what I was reading about The Whole Bloody Affair, that's pretty much what Tarantino's version is too. They said there's a couple of slightly different edits in the Tarantino version. But for the most part, the Whole Bloody Affair that's out there is close to his original version. And so we decided to cover Kill Bill as the Whole Bloody version of Tarantino's fourth film of his planned 10 films he says he's going to do in his career. And still waiting on the 10th one. Kill Bill is a movie that I think it needs no introduction. We know that, it's the story of the bride who wakes up in a coma 4 years after Bill and her crew attempted to kill her. And only because she wanted out of that life of being a former assassin for Bill. She wanted to move on, and Bill wasn't going to have it. So he decides to take her out. So she goes on a quest of revenge and classic ninja samurai storytelling, which folds over from being a samurai kung fu film into a cowboy old western revenge story in which nothing works out for the cowboy the way it should. Because in the second half of the film, she only kills one person.
Yeah.
So, and I think I never picked up on that. This is a movie of Quentin's that I've only watched once or twice. It's so strange that I didn't like this a whole lot when I first saw it, because I love sword fights. I love kung fu movies. I like martial arts movies. I love westerns. But I had a hard time really getting into Kill Bill the first couple of times I saw it. And I think my biggest issue with it, and it's still my issue with the film, is it's so pretentious in parts. Just like lots of just wasted space in it when the plot can be moving forward. This 4-hour cut of the film could be told in 3 hours. And I think that's my biggest issue with Kill Bill. It's just like, and Quentin has always done this. He's always done with this in his films. But this movie feels like it should be faster paced. I mean, we're telling a fucking revenge story here. Let's move the story. And I completely understand Quentin's influences and everything he grew up watching, because we've been watching his films for years. We know he loved Sergio Leone and westerns and samurai films, and I understand all that. But this film just drags in certain parts to it, and I think that's still what holds it down. But that said, I have come around to it more. I'm liking this more and more the more I watch it. And I really appreciated watching it all in one sitting over a couple days, anyways, and seeing the difference in the kung fu side and the Western side of the story. I never picked up on that it was a kung fu movie that transferred into a neo-Western until now. I just hadn't picked up on that, and I thought that was a really cool way he did that. Uma's great in the movie. She's never been known for acting chops, but she's fantastic in this film. She really
is.
Bill David Carradine is fantastic as Bill. He really is. Puts on it's not a like overdrawn huge performance, but he's subtle. He's calm. He's cool.
Yeah,
and it works. This dude is evil, and he plays it so well.
He plays like a Blumfeld. You only see his hands. His hands it's touching Uma Thurman's face. It's touching his sword. You just hear his voice. Very mysterious, behind the scenes kind of bad guy. So very, very cool. Very well played.
Lucy Liu is great in the movie.
Like Rosa Renishi.
Daryl Hannah and Michael Madsen are not so good in the movie. And that's where the movie suffers a little bit too. Michael Madsen looks like he's waiting for his next bottle of whiskey to be handed to him throughout the film.
Yeah.
He's mailing in his performance. It's like, okay, Quentin's paying me some money, I'll go do a movie. And we know this guy can act. We've seen him act. He's great in Sin City. He's great in Reservoir Dogs. He's just there in this movie. Let's just be honest. He
really is.
Daryl Hannah, she's never been known for acting, so we're not going to knock her too hard. She's trying really hard to play evil. Like, she's overacting. Where Michael Madsen's just not even trying to act. Daryl Hannah's like, I'm going to overdo it. Now, I do think the improvisation of her going crazy when Beatrix pops her eye out is pretty funny. Because even Quentin didn't know she was going to do it. And Quentin's like, okay, we're going to leave that in the movie. That was awesome. So that's kind of cool. This movie also, and I know I'm going to let you talk in just a second, Matt, I promise.
Yeah.
The burial scene, man, that causes me anxiety.
Dude, yes, the claustrophobia.
Man, that scene, I had to stop looking at the screen. I'm like turning my head. It's freaking me out. Great sword play.
A lot. She got in really good shape.
Yeah.
She made an interview about how well she was in shape from all the sword fighting she had to do to do this film.
The Crazy 88's fight is fantastic. Those are some of my thoughts on the movie.
Yeah. I like that this is basically kind of like Bruce Lee's revenge as told by Quentin Tarantino. And you've got obviously the Bruce Lee inspired yellow jumpsuit played while playing Al Hurt's Green Hornet theme. The great Al Hurt, one of the best trumpet players ever. For his style. And then what does she do? She shows up against the Crazy 88 army, all dressed as Kato, and working her way towards, in this Game of Death style movie, towards the man who played the part that Bruce Lee was supposed to play himself for a script that he came up with called Kung Fu, where a man wanders the earth looking for his brother and gets into, scuffles along the way in David Carradine. So that's really cool. Just that's played by, Quentin Tarantino as this, with that imagery. And you also have these, old school samurai effects with the blood just pouring everywhere, like in Shogun Assassin, the movie that the daughter's watching, where he's kind of grooming the daughter to be an assassin the whole time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's desensitizing her. She kills her fish, and he's just like, "Whoa, wow!" She knows the difference between life and death.
You're absolutely right. That's the whole point, and that's why Beatrix realizes, like, she deep in her heart, she loves Bill and what he gave her.
Yeah,
he gave her life, but she knows that entire conversation when he's making sandwiches, she knows she has to kill him because exactly what you said, her daughter will never be safe.
Yep. Very true. And then she gives him the fucking 5-finger palm death where he explodes, his heart explodes. And that's just badass. That's really cool. But he's so diabolical, man. You know, whenever he like shoots her in the leg with the truth serum, and you know, just that whole conversation, he's so creepy. You know, with his bad haircut, you know, and his evil shit and weird parenting style. You're just like, man, he's got to go, man. He's got to go.
Yeah.
And then he's like, how did you get Hattori Hanzo to make you a sword? She's like, all I had to do is drop your name. It was pretty easy. But yeah, I mean, her whole story. Huh?
Played by the legend Sonny Chiba.
Yes. Been in a lot of black and white samurai films himself. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, you've got a great cast, a good story. Vivica A. Fox. I like her little spiel in the movie. She's not in it for a long, but she does great, and they have a pretty good fight in the house whenever she tries to pull the gun out of the cereal box and shoot Beatrix while they're fighting. And, you know, you have the motherly type scene there where she's like, don't do this in front of my daughter. And she's like, I'm not going to kill you, you know, but she has to because she's shooting at her. So she brought it upon herself. So I wonder what a Kill Bill Volume 3 would look like, you know, get the daughters of these two women together.
Wouldn't like to talk about it for years.
He has. He talked about it on Joe Rogan too.
Yeah. But Quentin, I don't think he'll ever do it. You know, he talked about several movies, like the Vega Brothers movie never happened.
Yeah. I think Kill Bill Volume 3 is more likely to happen, but still, like you said, it's a fairy tale. You know, it's a dream. You know, he was on Rogan one time and he was talking about his whole, you know, I plan to only do 10 films, and Rogan's like, why? You know, you're still producing these really good films and they're great. We love watching you. I love watching you. Why do you want to just stop while you're at the top? And he's like, well, that's the point. I don't want to fall and, you know, and start doing bad films.
Well,
and
I always viewed Tarantino as very similar to Scorsese and Coppola and Spielberg. Is like, you know, Scorsese has almost quit a couple of times, but then something comes along and gets him going again. I think the same thing will happen to Quentin. I think he'll get this 10th film done, but then all of a sudden he'll be like, you know what? I want to do something else. Because Quentin's only like 60 years old, so he's got plenty of time. Oh, yeah.
He says he's going to do a book, a playwright, and then he's going to work on his 10th film.
Right. So, you know, we'll see. I was just thinking, you know, a lot of people think that this movie, that there's always been an underlying connection to all of Quentin's films together. You know, like The Briefcase from Pulp Fiction is the same briefcase as Reservoir Dogs, things like that. There's a lot of people believe that Rufus, the musician in the bridal in the church, because it's played by Samuel L. Jackson. People believe that that's Jules, because he said, he goes, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going to wander the earth. Like, and he even mentions like what's his name in Kung Fu. And so people think he says,
that's right. He does.
I'm a traveler. You know, I've traveled all of them. So people say is Rufus Jules, you know, in this movie, you know, which could be. Only Quentin knows for sure. Maybe one day when that book comes out, he'll reveal it all as to who's who.
Maybe so.
But you know, this movie though, I watched it on Prime as separate volumes, and then I put in my disc, my fan edit disc of Blood Bloody Affair, and I went through that. Didn't watch every scene, but kind of fast forward and looked at things, trying to find the differences, and I saw the cut scene and everything, and this movie definitely, for a 4-hour film, it flows well. It's not hard to watch. I know I was complaining about the pacing, and really for me the pacing issues strive at the beginning of the film the most, like the whole stuff in the hospital and her wiggling her big toe and Quentin's obsession with feet, and the disgusting scene with Buck, which is just nasty. Just all seems really pointless. You could have told that whole story by just having her wake up from a coma and work her way out of the hospital. You didn't need the unnecessary sex and violence. That, and then I'm trying to think what else the training drags a bit. where she's training with Pai Wei.
Yeah.
That's a bit just a bit long, but it was all to set up the fact that Ellie killed her master. So it was a setup for that. So there's a few things I would
Yeah.
cut back in some of this. If I was editing the film, mostly the beginning of the film, I think you could easily cut off 20 or 30 minutes at the beginning of the movie and make it a tighter film, even for the 3.5 hour runtime of the epic. But that's probably some of my smallest beats, but great performances. Quentin, I like his action scenes because they're not traditional, but yet they feel real. Does that make sense? His action scenes,
Yeah.
especially the fight in the trailer where Ellie and Beatrix are just going at it with each other.
Oh, yeah.
There's a freaking black mama in that trailer. Sometime we're in there,
Dude. Yeah. Getting close to both of them.
So, okay, why did she hide the black mama or the money? Why didn't she just put it in the suitcase and he opens it up and it pops out? You think about that?
Yeah.
We have all this money flying around everywhere for no reason.
That's true. It's like, why not have it right at the top?
Yeah, like you carried all this money with you for no reason. It's like
It's like she didn't want to have to pay, I guess. I don't know. Maybe she could have just shot the dude, The only man Bill ever loved, his brother.
Yeah.
But
I think
he's such a trip.
Who?
His brother, he's like, you haven't kept up with your sword play, have you? He's like, no, can't say I have. And he's like, you still got that your Hattori Hanzo sword? He's like, no, I pawned it. And he's like, you hawked a Hattori Hanzo sword. He's like, that sword was priceless. And he's like, not here.
Not for $250.
Not for $250. Like, fucking idiot.
Well, that's another point. Like, he works for a titty bar, right? He's a bouncer.
Yeah.
The whole scene adds nothing to the film. Where his boss is like, see this? You're not scheduled this day anymore. You're not to fire him. Like, there's no point to that entire scene in the film.
Exactly.
Other than to make us know that Bud is already down on his luck, useless. He's not the assassin he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, he's still a little bit brutal, but he's more, instead of being a calculated assassin, he's more old-fashioned brutal. The way he tries to bury Beatrix and basically just beats the shit out of her to get her captured. Shoots her with rock salt.
Rock salt to the tits, as he says.
I did read there was supposed to be a whole other chapter in this film involving the little sister. That
okay.
There was going to tell part of her origin story, which explains whenever she fights Beatrix, like what that was all about. But they cut that chapter out, and apparently some of it was filmed and stuff. But apparently it doesn't exist in the whole Bloody Affair version. It ended up on the cutting room floor. So that's a little interesting tidbit. Kill Bill, man, it's pretty solid. I really liked watching it more this time. But Quentin movies, other than Reservoir Dogs, that's the only movie of his that I ever liked a lot the first time I watched it. And I did like Django Unchained a lot the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
But Pulp Fiction took some time to grow on me. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has taken some time. The Hateful Eight, is just, it's good, but it's just like, it's hard to watch with all the language in it, and I'm no prude or anything, but all the N-words in it are just like, it's tough, man. It's like, it's tough on your senses as a human being just to hear those words over and over again in The Hateful Eight. It's just like, come on. But I think Kill Bill is up there in my top 3 or 4 of his, though, now after watching it again, I think. Reservoir Dogs is always going to be my favorite. I like Pulp Fiction a lot, and I really like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a lot. And this one's probably right up there. I think it's easily, now that I've rewatched it, it's probably my top 3 or 4 Quentin films.
I think it's my favorite of his. And, maybe part of it is because it was such a shift change from, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. This came out, it was a freaking epic. It was way, way different than what he normally did.
Well, and it's easily the most, it's probably his, I don't know Quentin Tarantino, obviously, but this might be his most personal film as far as from his influences.
Yeah.
He directly made a movie based on what he watched growing up. Samurai films and Westerns. and he put it on screen. Now, granted, he made 2 more westerns with Django and Hateful Eight, but this one is influenced by those westerns.
And he
Where
came up with
Django,
the opening scene with Uma, with
yeah,
the dress. Yeah, in the bridal dress.
where Django and Hateful Eight are his version of how Quentin would tell a western. Where Kill Bill is Quentin's inspiration from watching samurai films and westerns. So that's why I think it could be his most personal film.
Yeah.
But I definitely like it a lot more than I did before, and I appreciate the influences of it, the neo-western samurai styles of it. Just could be a little bit shorter. It's probably my only beef. I don't need to see Buck and his nastiness. I mean, that's gross, man. Who does that? Obviously, they do.
Yeah, that's fucking
Apparently
messed up.
It's happened before in hospitals. Like, it's a real thing.
Oh, wow.
Some chick woke up from a coma pregnant. They found out that one of the orderlies were plugging her up.
Oh, shit.
Come on, people.
Damn it.
Word is weird. Don't go into a coma because you might wake up with a baby.
Yeah. Yes, this is true. You could wake up with the human growing in you.
I'm being totally tongue in cheek because that is just absolutely nasty.
If his name's Buck and he's the nurse taking care of you, you might want to, wake up and find another place to go.
Yeah, get away from Buck.
And he said he's from Huntsville, Texas. I'm like, damn it, Quentin.
You're going to be from Arkansas or something?
Yeah, man. I'm from Arkansas. That could have worked. Yeah. He's like, I'm from Huntsville, Texas.
Backwoods of Tennessee.
I was like, what are you? One of those, tropes from the NFL games where they announce where they're from, and he's like doing fucked up shit. And he's like, Buck, Huntsville, Texas.
The thing is, so she rips this dude's lips off, which apparently killed him, which I thought was strange.
Very strange.
Can you bleed to death from your lip being bit off? I don't know. I thought that was weird.
Or had to do something else. Maybe he passed out.
Passed out from shock. Here's the thing. Okay, she kills Buck, right? And she's in the car 12 hours later getting her toes moved. There's no police coming to this hospital because they found a body?
Yeah.
Searching the parking lot? I'm like, wait a minute.
That's weird.
Yeah. It's a minor plot hole, but I guess, It's
kind of like the John Wick movies. You're like, where are the cops? This shit's happening. Where are the police, man? Well, I know they're, they got to be there somewhere.
There's a term for that in films. We brought it up on the show before about what they call these alternate universes that these films exist in. And John Wick exists in them, and I guess Kill Bill exists in them too. Because you're right, especially like in John Wick 4, the whole shootout in Paris. There's no police officers in this entire town.
Exactly.
But oh well, Kill Bill, man, it was a good one to watch. I'm glad we watched it, and we usually try to do one of Quentin's films every year or so, and we hadn't done one in a while. Well, since Pulp Fiction, I think it was the last one we did. But now it is time to move on to what is arguably Matt's favorite month of the year.
Yes.
I always say the same for myself. Even though there's a couple movies on here I'm excited watching, but we started a tradition, man. I can't believe this is the sixth year we've done this.
Wow.
Of doing Halloween movies or horror movies the month of October. So starting with next week's episode, we will kick off Halloween Horror 6, the 2023 version, as we'll be bringing 4 films to you throughout the month of some horror classics. And we're going to kick that off with a favorite of Matt's age group, and that's just honest truth. I mean, I don't hate the film, but it's just more your age group thing.
Yeah,
and that is Wes Craven's Scream.
Hello.
Hello.
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Someone is playing a deadly game.
It all began with a scream over 911.
Someone who's seen one too many scary movies. Now, he's taken his love of fear.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney.
One step too far.
Do you like scary movies? least.
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a scary movie. Number one, you can never have sex. Hey, it's me. Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back. Get another beer, you want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
He didn't make the rules.
The police are always off track. If they watch prom night, they save time.
He just kills by them. Don't answer the phone. Don't open the door. Don't try to hide.
Everybody's a suspect!
You're not scared, are you?
Scream.
I'll be honest, I've only seen this like one time. That's when I originally saw it. Maybe twice, but it's been some years since I've seen it. So I will rewatch it this week and give my thoughts on it. I know it's a big favorite of yours, and it's another one of those horror franchises that seems to spawn endless sequels. Instead of just letting things die.
No, yeah. They definitely always find a way to make continuity happen in a lot of these horror movies, right?
Somehow, some way. But, this is a movie that kind of brought Wes Craven back from obscurity into the spotlight whenever this came out. And credit to him for doing that. He's one of our great classic horror directors of all time. So I think we've only ever done just Nightmare on Elm Street. It's only be the second Wes Craven film we've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. This is also a film that I felt like brought horror movies back into, good standing popularity. They were so, it had become, kind of redundant and the same thing over and over again. Yeah. And this one, I think, made them more prime time, and, especially with its smart satirical take on the films. Yeah, for sure.
And it had its share of copycats. I know what you did last summer, and several copycat versions of this film. So
urban legend. Yeah.
So next week we'll kick off Halloween Horror 6 for the year with Scream on next week's episode. Should be fun. Until then, the rebelradiopodcast.com for all your Rebel Radio needs. As you heard early in the show with our super awesome radio show opening, which was completely improvised, but I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought so too.
But as always, thanks for listening. We do appreciate it. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Remember, as always, just go there
and do it.